Welcome to SandCity Sports. You know what this is. Big game in the Big Apple just concluded. Knicks get the win. We need to make sure that we're mindful. Had an injury to Jason Tatum that we're going to have to discuss. Warriors. Okay, let's get the Facebook going on. Boom. IG's going on. Got to go around, make sure everything is right. We trust, but we verify on SandCity Sports. Yes, indeed. Make sure that Twitter is where it needs to be. Let's go ahead and get YouTube is right. Finish with Twitch. Silence the phone real quick. Hope everybody out there is doing well. You're seeing what's going on. I'm seeing what's going on. Got to get into this NBA draft. Welcome to SandCity Sports. To the business. Indeed. And we're going to get some media. We got our media going on. As SandCity gets moving and grooving. No, that's not what I needed. Come back. Let's get what we needed. Pause this. Bring it all the way back. SandCity Sports. Let's get our volume right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's time, folks. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes. Hey. Hey. SandCity Sports. Monday night. The Knicks go. New York. Go. Get the W. Up 3-1. The Garden is rocking, folks. Hey. Jason Tatum. We want him back healthy. We don't want him easy. Hey. Run it back. Run it back. Oh, yes. The NBA draft. Cooper Flag heading to the Lone Star State. San Antonio Spurs get the second pick. Could we have Giannis also heading down to Texas? Everything bigger in Texas. The NBA draft. Shades of David Stern. Patrick Ewing going to the New York Knicks. Oh, a lot to get into. Thank you for rocking with SandCity Sports. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we are here in the building. Go now. First of all, let's get it correct. Let's get it correct on SandCity Sports. We're with Jason Tatum. We want Jason Tatum back healthy. That did not look good. Okay, again, just goes down. He's in pain. He's clutching the ankle. Non-contact, folks. Any basketball person, sports person knows when it's non-contact and you go for that ankle, you're hoping for the best. You want the best, but that looks like Achilles. So Jason Tatum going in, MRIs, the whole 9 yards. Hopefully it is not an Achilles injury. It's just an ankle injury. Tweaked it, whatever, high ankle sprain. Okay, we want to keep it in that realm. Hoopers know, you play men's league or you a player at high school, college, whatever the case may be. You know the high ankle sprains is serious. Okay, looks like you got a tennis ball right in your upper ankle. Okay, you got to do the rest, ice, compression, and elevation. You have to do all of that for the high ankle sprains. That's what I'm hoping it is. If it has anything to do with an Achilles, we don't want it to be a tear. That's just devastating. Okay, and for myself, let's get 100. Okay, because all receipts Okay, we you know what I'm saying? We the Rolodex. Okay, so the Knicks haven't done anything yet. But my New York Knicks, under the capable leadership of Tom Thibodeau, uh, we've done quite a bit, right? Um, Anybody in your house, your closet, right? You got your cleaning materials, your brooms, okay, your sweeper, your quipper, your quicker picker upper, all of that. That's how you guys were talking coming into this series about my New York Knicks under the capable leadership of Tom Thibodeau. Y'all had a lot to say. Mikal Bridges, La Cosa Nova was getting buckets. Big Body Brunson, buckets. Josh Hart, buckets. Shout out to Ragu. We miss Ragu, who's going to be doing this thing for the Minnesota Timberwolves right now, coming up against Golden State Warriors. There was a lot that was said that was retained, okay? But this is just bananas right now in terms of if the New York Knicks can beat this dynastic team, then the 50-year drought, this is the year for the New York Knicks to get that championship. First one in 50 years. Bananas. And the series is far from over, nonetheless. And you know what I'm saying. For myself, I know CP the franchise is going in right now. It's crazy that SandCity Sports is even on at the same time as Knicks Fan TV at a time like this. But this is just an emergency episode. Shout out, my brother called me with, you know what I mean, a lot of things going on. School year's coming to the end, but we have to do the passion project, folks. It just has to take place. You understand what I'm saying? And so I got the call about Cooper. Crazy. We know what happened with Luka and that wildness. We know that, Mavericks had a 1.358, whatever. They almost made the playoffs. How they all of a sudden getting Cooper flag? Beneezes. I like it because Jason Kidd is there. We understand Jason Kidd is an elite. I didn't say good. I said elite, because right? You take a team to the NBA Finals, folks. Okay, let's come back to them, right? Dallas Mavericks had it going on. You want to talk about thick boy Luka? You want to talk about Hookah Luka? You could say all of that. It means nothing to me because they were in the NBA Finals last year, and there's nothing that was stopping them from getting back to the NBA Finals. They're the team that knocked off the OKC Thunder last year, and they're a year better than that. So yeah, injuries here, things going on behind the scenes, nonsense. Okay, AD is a good player. Let me just go ahead. Let me go ahead. I got a text. Let folks know. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't even be doing this episode had I not got. So let me let people and my brother know if he wants to get on, he can get on, for sure. We're not gonna, we're gonna do an episode. May not be able to go in like, okay, but just might have to keep this thing rolling as long as it has to go. You have to make time for the passion project. Okay, you also have, it's a balance. What do we talk about? It's a work-life balance. That's what's being navigated right now. Okay, let folks know. Um, we're gonna go around, see how people are doing. You know what this is. I see Facebook. Appreciate you rocking with me. Thank you. I see my people on IG rocking with me. Folks, anybody, everybody, Mikasa Sukasa. If you have takes, you don't have to show your screen. Jump on the SandCity Sports, Mikasa Sukasa. Let me know how you feel. So I'll put the link out there if anybody ever wants to jump on SandCity Sports now, or just going, you know what I mean, you're welcome. Or if you want to take the conversation in a particular direction, let me know. Okay, appreciate a couple people on Twitter. I call it Twitter. It is what it is. Apologies to Elon. Thank you. Let me know. But we're going in tonight. Okay. But we have to start with what we just saw. In terms of, I'm starting with Tatum. Then we're gonna get, because the Celtics were winning this game. Celtics were up double digits. The 3-ball was going. Y'all want to disrespect Tom Thibodeau, a true general. Okay. I've heard it. I've taken it. Okay. But what happened? Celtics had this game in control. We made our move. Cut it down. Evened it up. Went ahead. People had a lot to say about Mikal Bridges. I've been on the Mikal Bridges from the beginning that we need La Cosa Nova in New York. Worldwide West, Leon Rose, Knicks front office. Say what you want to say about James Dolan. Okay? He took a huge step back. Steinbrenner with the Yankees. When did the Yankees have the success in the 90s? When did they have their dynastic years? After what happened with Steinbrenner having people followed, banned from baseball for 2 years, he came back. He took a step back. He let his baseball people make baseball decisions. That's how you get Mariano Rivera. That's how you get Derek Jeter. That's how you get Bernie Williams. That's how you get Jorge Posada. Steinbrenner let his baseball people make baseball decisions, okay, and he took the step back, and you had those dynastic years. Am I saying the Knicks are a dynasty? That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. But let's make it clear what I am saying. I'm saying that James Dolan brought in Worldwide West with the Kentucky Calipari connection. He brought in Leon Rose. Same thing. Kentucky Calipari, LeBron James, Clutch Sports connected. And this group, what's one of the first things that they did, if not the first, they brought in my coach, a capable general, one Mr. Tom Thibodeau. Where's all those people that said he's the worst coach in the NBA? We don't want to play for Tibbs. Y'all had a lot to say. You didn't want to play for Tibbs because he has people show up to work. You didn't want to play for Tibbs because he's a general and with the player development. Nobody knew who Jimmy Butler was until Derrick Rose got injured. Nobody knew who Julius Randle was until they came up under Tom Thibodeau's leadership. Nobody knew who iHeart was until they came up under Tom Thibodeau's leadership. Y'all had a lot to say about Tibbs. You keep saying it about Tibbs. Leon Rose, Worldwide West, my coach, prior to Salem State, brought him in first piece, and they just been building it up from there. Building it up. We need a superstar. No, we need true blue New York City that's loyal to the soil and it's going to come up under the leadership and do what he. So to people talking about superstars, bring in Jalen Brunson, bring him back to New York. Oh yes. Okay, then had Hart, Cam Reddish for Josh Hart. We got this La Costa Nova thing going on. DiVincenzo was doing his thing. Chef Curry said, "Go to New York where you can shine." Brought in Ragu. Oh yes, and then people were seeing it with Mikal Bridges coming. We were saying we need to bring Mikal. Oh well, he doesn't want to be. We need to bring Mikal Bridges and we need to complete La Cosa Nova, and they made that happen. Who's talking about those picks now? Where's people talking about all them picks? That had to be given up. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Who was blown out? Y'all had a lot to say about the man who shows up to work every single doggone day. Shows up to work every single doggone day. Longest consecutive game streak in the NBA. Mikal Bridges, La Cosa Nova. Had a lot to say, as if he's not a capable defender, along with being a scorer. Getting buckets down the stretch for the Knicks to make the move that they made. Now we're going to get to Jason Tatum. We're getting to Jason Tatum because the first thing is first. The health is the wealth. And that is even as more that I want Jason Tatum to be healthy more than I want the Knicks to win this series, more than I'm thrilled the Knicks are up 3-1. That's what I'm first and foremost just waiting and hoping that it's not a season-ending situation. Guy's been healthy his whole career. In the heat of the battle, you cramp up. I hope you know what I mean. Hope it's a cramp, whatever. Just not an Achilles. Just not an Achilles. But point of fact is, folks, the move had been made before the injury took place. And the last piece of this, it did cost us Ragu, who's balling out for the Minnesota Timberwolves right now, which hurts. Hurts that we lost Ragu. We have campaign. We got Tyler Kolek, young boy coming off the bench. Shamit off the so we would want Ragu, okay, but we have guards to come in to spell. But Catmandu, Crooklyn Clan out of Don Bosco in Jersey, right? He coming home. Cat is home now. He's home. Playing for the Knicks. Okay, so this is the Penn ultimate roster that they brought together. All of the pieces fit. I've been clear. Nobody's saying the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics are still the best team. They remain the favorites, even up 3-1. Okay? I've been on this since the beginning. We are going to talk about Giannis, even though this episode is going to go as long as it's going to. SandCity Sports, check the receipts. Okay? We've been on this since 2024. Giannis is out. He's out. So, and now that's coming to fruition. The writing's been on the wall. Credit to the Bucks, credit to Doc Rivers, credit to Giannis, credit to Dame. They've been professional this season, but we've seen it before. We knew that it was not going to go. The East has changed. New teams, new powers are rising, and I'm including the Indiana Pacers, of course, in that, who are ferocious right now in terms of what they're doing. And you got to make hay while the sun shines. And the next thing you know, you look up and that door is closed. So the door closed on the Milwaukee Bucks. It did. So, Dame healthy, hope he gets back. But Giannis, they weren't going anywhere. It's time. And now in terms of what the NBA, see, it's crazy that I'm talking like this. I don't know how else you can talk. Dallas Mavericks #1 pick, like that was not even in the conversation, folks. Wasn't even in the conversation. For me, it was just keeping Cooper Flag away from Charlotte, keeping him away from Washington, keeping him away from those bottom feeder teams. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at this the Tatum situation in terms of the injury, and then we're just gonna power through. A lot to get to. Still dealing with a little bit of sinus issues. But it is what it is. So let's take a look at this Tatum situation.
Celtics have only 2 team fouls. Jaylen Brown back in, lost the ball. Anunoby all by himself throws it down. And Tatum is hurt. Tatum is down. He wants a timeout. Tatum in so much pain. And the Celtics call timeout, grabbing that right ankle. And that's the final timeout.
Okay, so that's not good. Where he's grabbing it, lower ankle. It kind of looks like a cramp. How he just kind of froze up there. I'm not a doctor, so who am I gonna say? Kind of looks like. What do I know? Okay, what do I know? But he's clearly in pain. You don't want it.
For the Boston Celtics, but more importantly, Tatum really shaken up. That last sequence, turning the ankle, and you see the concern. Now Horford in the Celtics' faces.
He called a timeout there himself. He was calling the timeout.
42 points for Tatum tonight, but right now in a great deal of pain. Here's the injury, Richard.
Well, it's very difficult. You never presume anything, but that step forward, that false step forward, and he goes down and immediately. We don't know what it is, but when you see a player in this position, we thought, because we didn't see the play because we were looking at OG, was it a rolled ankle? Was it a tweak of something? We're not sure. We're going to let the doctors figure that out.
So Tatum hobbling back to the locker room, obviously couldn't put any weight at all on the right foot. Peyton Pritchard comes in, and Jason Tatum, you can see, distraught right now. As soon as we get an update, we'll pass it along.
Is that the University of North Carolina wants to call me a liar because I reported.
Celtics have only 2 team fouls.
Steps.
Jaylen Brown back in, lost the ball. Anunoby all by himself throws it down. And Tatum is hurt. Tatum is down. He wants a timeout. Tatum in so much pain. And the Celtics call timeout, grabbing that right ankle. And that's the final timeout for the Boston Celtics, but more importantly, Tatum really shaken up. That last sequence, turning the ankle, and you see the concern. Now Horford in the Celtics' faces.
He called a timeout there himself. He was calling the timeout.
42 points for Tatum tonight, but right now in a great deal of pain. Here's the injury, Richard.
Well, it's very difficult. You never presume anything, but that step forward, that false step forward, and he goes down immediately. We don't know what it is, But when you see a player in this position, we thought, because we didn't see the play because we were looking at OG, was it a rolled ankle? Was it a tweak of something? We're not sure. We're going to let the doctors figure that out.
So Tatum hobbling back to the locker room, obviously couldn't put any weight at all on the right foot. Peyton Pritchard comes in, and Jason Tatum, you can see, distraught right now. As soon as we get another.
Okay. So, very difficult situation. Let me just. First and foremost, we want Tatum back healthy. Let's get the Minnesota game on. Pull this up.
The second pick.
It's all about the Lone Star State. I'm going to come back to that. In terms of the NBA draft, noted before, everybody has their little bumps and bruises. First of all, shout out to Flagman. Shout out to Unity Day, something we do here in Barnstable. SandCity Sports coming from the Cape, Unity Day. Shout out, you know what I mean? Let people know. Got the comfy shirt. Shout out to the Flagman. Does a number of things. Tireless work in the community. There will be some New York Knicks gear for you guys, soon. So those, we gonna have plenty of Knicks gear. Don't worry about that. We got plenty of Knicks gear. That's gonna going on. We're doing a Unity Day for this episode. Thrilled to be with you, making it work. Everybody has their bumps and bruises. It is what it is. Dealing with a little bit of sinus, you know what I mean? Sinus stuff, so ear, you just a little sinus pressure. A little bit of seasonal allergies as the weather has gotten better. So certainly navigate that. It's just nagging situation. But folks in the, see some of the people in the fantasy league talking about it looks like a sprain. Again, no, I stay at the Holiday Inn Express, but far from a doctor. What I can say for me was fortunate about that. It's one of those so he didn't land awkwardly, right? Where you have like weight going, when you roll your ankle, you step on somebody's foot, type of a situation, or you're planted and somebody bumps into you, so you're planted and then, something, so you can't, you don't have that agility, so to speak, to be able to absorb the blow and then come back down. Right. So fortunately, it didn't look like that. And then also what I thought, is that it was good. It was, it's a non-contact injury, but as he's going down, right, the back leg kind of gives way. And then he kind of like they just kind of like brush his shoulders. So my point is, you don't want, as you're going down, for somebody to like hit your leg going, and then like from the standpoint of it being a hyperextension, right? That was another, he kind of plants the back foot. It gives way. OG's obviously going the other way because, you got to get that bucket. And then Tatum kind of turns, brushes shoulders, and then kind of comes back down. And there was no further hit or trauma to the, affected leg. Right. So the way it happened, it just, it's really just about him planting, trying to go, and then something gives out, and then you're just like, I'm not the spring chicken that I once was, but still, certainly you don't stop playing because you get older. You get old because you stop playing. I'm certainly experiencing that. Was a time when I was playing in 2-3 men's leagues, and refereeing on the weekends and go. And then you're like, well, I got to take time aside to do this, that, and the third. Then next thing you know, you don't have that built-in exercise. And so you're super busy and doing a whole bunch of paperwork, but your body gets out of rhythm because you're not getting your exercise like you once were. Right. So now you pay the cost that way. I wish I would have just kept playing straight through and pushed some of the other administrative things aside, because you have to have a balance between the work and the life. You got to have a balance between sitting in a chair and getting up and moving around and moving your body and being active. And I went from doing a little bit, maybe too much of the movement, to now a little bit too much of just the sedentary stuff, just sitting down too much. But my point with that is, one of the key things that I hope there's some other men's league veterans that's out there. Again, you don't get old because you stop playing. You don't stop playing because you get old. You do not stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing. I borrowed that from Jason McIntyre. Shout out to the Herd. Thinking about the Herd today. Colin, got to be a triple threat. One thing I got from J Mac, and one of the things, Colin Cowherd says, nobody cares, work harder. It's okay to have your gripes and your complaints, but at the end of the day, don't expect, what do they say? Nobody's coming to save you. You gotta get out there and you gotta work and you gotta get it. Period. End of story. But one of the things, just back to Jason Tatum, and you get older, you gotta stretch and you gotta warm up. You can't just go out there and hoop. You can't just go out there and do anything. And you gotta give your body a chance. You gotta all the different things. Your ankle stretches, your calf. And that I ran cross country in high school. Is one of the best things I ever did. I should have done it all 4 years. Frankly, they were always encouraging me to do it, and I didn't have the patience. Same thing with the drama club. They were always encouraging me to do it. I didn't have the patience. Dumb. I look back, stupid. Should have just got at my nose at everybody else's business and participated in some of these great co-curricular activities, these supportive communities, not the politics and the drama, everyone encouraging each other. That's what I should have done, but I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be popular. I wanted to be some, 5-star athlete. So, and I was a decent athlete. I wasn't great, but, I'm doing this, so I got the love for the game. But my thing, with cross country is I do those stretches to this day. The stretches that they taught me then, 20 some odd years. And, I fortunately, knock on wood, haven't had, major, I've, ankle here and there, but, I stretch, takes a little bit of time. And what I'm getting at, this is a little bit long-winded. I'm going to check to see if anybody has something to say. Appreciate you guys. But in conclusion, on Tatum injury, you got, if you're old, what I'm talking about. If you don't stretch properly, or even if you do, and then your first couple times up the court, you'll go to push off, and you're just your knee and your ankle just won't be ready, and you'll come up a little bit limp. You know what I'm talking about? That happened a few times, and I realized I gotta stretch my ankles out. I gotta do my ankle stretches. I gotta do my little heel lift ups. You're on your heel and you lift up, type deals. To get your knees activated, get your ankles activated. You do the hamstring and the calf stretches. But even when you do that, the first couple of times up the court, you're gonna push off, and your body's just not gonna be ready, and you're gonna come up a little bit limp, and you hobble around a bit, and you just hoo hoo hoo, and then you run up and down a couple more times, and then your body gets warm and you're good. But that's what that Tatum injury looked. It looked like, fortunately, and again, don't know. He's but he's kind of seized up there. His ankle, his leg just was kind of locked. His leg, he was just kind of stuck in that kind of 90-degree angle. It was just kind of locked up. Which, sometimes, and I'm not, people would tell me a hamstring or a calf. You don't want, again, you have just everything, just not an Achilles, please, and not a rupture. You don't want any type of rupture. You're gonna have to go in for surgery. So we'll see. I say all that, but everybody knows when you grab your lower ankle, when you grab your lower ankle. It is what it is. So, yeah, shout out, thoughts, prayers, concerns, everything for Tatum. We want him to be back. Appreciate people on Facebook that's with me, folks that's on the IG, couple folks on Twitter. Much love, much appreciation. Let me know. Mi casa, su casa. But the first thing is first. It's Tatum. Okay, now, look, in terms of the Knicks, that's my team. And not going to be boastful, bragging, yada yada yada, because been behind in every single game. So not going to act as if that we're some type of new kids bullies on the block. But there is a little bit of big body. We are kind of holding our own right now, and But long story short, here's what it is. Celtics came through in Game 3 and handled business, right? So you see the adjustments that the Knicks. That's what I'm most encouraged about, is that this team is rolling with the punches and right hitting. The Knicks are not going to be the most overall talented team, right? Boston Celtics are pound for pound more talented. I've been clear on that. Okay, you might throw out some other teams that's still in the playoffs right now that might be pound for pound more talented, but our togetherness is coming up, and that's why you guys are seeing. I've done known about this. You're seeing La Cosa Nova. Okay, you're seeing the pride of Jay Wright, the character side of it. This team has elite leadership. Talented. Mikal Bridges is no slouch. Talked about it. You look at him differently if he won the Defensive Player of the Year award. People act like he forgot how to play defense. People act like he's not a fringe all-star. People act like Catman Dude didn't start in the all-star game. Yes, Cat is, he came into the league more of a defender. He's not the defensive ace, but offensively, he shoots the three ball. He'll put you in the post with that Kevin McHale game. All right, Tom Thibodeau knows how to, look at how Julius Randle flourished under Tibbs. So Catman Dude, okay, same thing. Big Body Brunson, same thing. Okay, brought in the last OG. We got him healthy. Last OG is going to load manage. Mikal Bridges don't need no load management. Certain folks don't need no load management. We load manage Cat. We load manage OG. We load manage Big Body Brunson. So they're healthy. They're ready to go. Okay? In the last OG, when he come to the Knicks, that was a great deal. Send RJ back. Oh, Canada. That's where to come. Send him back to the homeland. And we get the last OG whose defensive efficiency, defensive rating is off the charts. And that's Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is going to mold him. Okay, so that's a 3-and-D. And OG's defensive minded, big body. Okay, and we got Mitch coming up, but then Josh Hart gives us that extra. Josh Hart is out there giving you some Charles Barkley. Yes, I said it. He's not Charles Barkley talent-wise, but he's giving you Charles Barkley rebounding out of position. The Tommy points that Josh Hart gets, and then those crucial buckets, those straight line drives in transition where you're fading out, and the next thing you know, he has a Peyton Pritchard on him, and I'm just going to body him out the way and get that bucket. Right? So Josh Hart gives them, we're allowed, Cat at the 5, which we lose defensively, but we're able to play a more spread out, a more up-tempo style of basketball. And then, we bringing in Mitchell Robinson, we bringing in Campaign, we bringing in Shamet, we bringing in McBride, we bringing in Precious. We have those young Spartans coming off the bench as well. The playoffs right now is wild. So I'm not, you know what I mean? Because I made it clear, I'm gonna be hurt no matter who loses. It's gonna hurt my heart if Boston loses. I'm saying that, because this is a dynastic team. I'm in the Commonwealth. I love this team. I gave you a lot with love, but it's honest because, you don't have this. You don't have the privilege of having a Drew Holiday and Derek White, two high character, high ability guys, right? A Drew Holiday there to lead and to collaborate with your two young lions in Tatum and JB. Like, this team is special. This Boston team is flat out special. And Drew Holiday is what makes this team special. I've said it. I'm saying it again and again. He makes this team special because he's a high quality. He's an NBA All-Star. People don't forget he's an All-Star, NBA, champion, Olympian, all that stuff. Everybody wants Drew on this team. They know what he brings to the table. So he has the elite talent, but he has elite togetherness. He's able to get people and get a team playing the right way all the way, and Marcus Smart, as good of a, he didn't bring people together anywhere near. That wasn't his MO. Okay? And Drew does that. So he's giving you elite talent and elite togetherness. Derek White, it's very similar. He's not the same player. You go, 1A, 1B, all the rest of that stuff. Derek White is a fringe all-star, but the same thing. And then you have the young Lions, JB and JT, and then Crispy P, who's resurgence in his career. Bench, frankly, could be a little bit better. Frankly, you could have their bench is a lot like the Knicks bench. No like standout. They're not bringing like a Jamal Crawford player. Well, hold on. Let me back up. Peyton Pritchard, 6th man of the year. So let me put respect on Peyton's name. But it's a workman's bench. It's not. You don't have the luxury of bringing, like Houston Rockets can bring a Jabari Smith off the bench, can bring a Reed Shepard off the bench, can bring like lottery pick talent off the bench. Now Peyton did his thing. Shout out to Peyton. But that's just the Celtics bench is good, but they kind of overperform, is my view. So the Celtics lose, that's huge. And I've been on this. People can go back and forth all they want, yada yada yada. This team consistently gives back leads. You want to point to Missoula, you can point to him. I'm pointing to Jeff Van Gundy and Charles Lee. Been saying it since the beginning of the year. Institutionally, culturally, strategically, they have lost something that they haven't replaced. I'm staying with that. You could talk about Missoula ball, which frankly, Missoula ball to me is an extension of Brad Stevens' theory of basketball. Going all the way back to Butler. He wants to spread, he wants to shoot a bunch of threes, yada, yada, yada. And, at times, right, they're off, like they're so talented offensively, but they really only play, right, 3 or bust, or like occasionally, like Drew Holiday got a face cut, they'll do some split action stuff. But for the life of me, I don't understand why Drew Holiday is not posting up Brunson. I don't know why, like, they're not getting these cross matchups when you have McBride and JB on the floor. When you have Big Body Brunson and McBride on the floor, why aren't you getting some, like, high-low stuff? Why aren't you getting some inside-out stuff? They have this spread offense, but they don't, like, there's no, like, isolation inside out. Right? You can see the Knicks. We're going to use Cat on the block. Okay? How Minnesota schemes stuff up for Rudy. Like, what do the Celtics do in like, where is their interior offense at all? Like, when do they ever play from the short corner or high post? Like their theory of offense, it's just not, and you can see it. It's just not as sophisticated. Cleveland is in trouble. Kenny Atkinson's a great, but Rick Carlisle, my point with that is, Indiana is just scoring. They're just scoring. Outscore the Cavaliers 42-16 in the second quarter. Indiana they're just scoring in a number of different ways. They're just hitting you with a whole, like, and that's why I go, like, the Celtics offense is just not dynamic. Whereas other, you know what I mean? And back to Denver, and Denver could have held on and won that game against OKC. They lost, a nip and tuck game, yada, yada, yada. But it's like they're doing things. Joker brings up the ball or something, you know what I mean? there's a number of different RPOs, like read options that I see when other teams running that I don't see. Like I don't see the Celtics using. Why don't you use Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum in a pick and roll? Right? You notice tonight, and for all the skeptics out there talking about how it was Mikal Bridges was in that Brunson situation. So it was a 1-4 with Mikal Bridges and everybody else spotting up. And typically, but now Bridges is out there to kind of be the point man for the offense. Okay, and other people, but like even in that scenario, Bridges is out front. We know that he gonna kill you on the mid range, right? Catmandu on the block. Brunson now spotting up where he would have been. Okay, it matters. It's been mattering, and Celtics, should they lose this series, I want Tatum to come back healthy. I still think it can go 7. I'm not getting ahead of myself. But, Brad Stevens, you gotta, who the heck replaced Van Gundy? Who the heck replaced Charles Lee? And I continue we go back to this. When the year before, when the Celtics should have went to the finals to face off against the Denver Nuggets, Derek White was here for a half a season before the blockbuster bringing in, Drew Holiday. But, that team went down 3-0 to the Heat. A Heat team without Tyler Hero. Came back and won 3 straight. Got not, that Joe Mazzulla was above. He was outgunned. And then Brad Stevens knew that the whole MA debacle, didn't want to bring in people during the year. I was saying in the beginning, bring in Frank Vogel. Bring somebody in. Bring in you need a hired hand to be with you. You can't just throw stuff into a computer. Doggone it. And it's not even a conversation about Mazzulla and Tibbs. They're not even in the same universe. Tibbs has like 20 plus years more of a coaching experience than Mazzulla. Tibbs has been doing it since he left Salem. I got to get this picture for you on the screen. Let me just go around and see what the heck everybody's doing. SandCity Sports. What's going on? I appreciate seeing my bro on the IG. Bro, jump in the comments. Let any commentary that you have. Go ahead and jump in. Let me know what you're thinking. Appreciate you tuning in. We're gonna get a lot of folks on the Twitter check-in. Much love and appreciation. I gotta get we gotta just help people understand. We gotta help people understand what's going on here, because you're not understanding what is taking place. Right? Y'all had a lot to say. Oh, nobody in the NBA want to play for Tibbs. He's too hard on people. He make people play 40 minutes. He make people show up to work. Nobody want. You understand? Y'all seeing this? What are we talking about here, people? Right? There's a book out there. I need to get the name of it. It's about the number of people in the NBA that were D3 guys. Sam Presti, Tom Thibodeau, right? Like the number of just NBA guys who just started off at the D3 level. Van Gundy's a D3 guy out of Nazarene. Okay? And just worked there, just loved basketball, and just made the decision early on in their 20s. This is what I'm going to teach basketball for the rest of my life. And I'm going to, whatever the consequence is, whatever I have to do, this is my passion. I'm going to teach basketball for the rest of my life. And then, from just grinding, work their way up to get to the highest level. Like that's Tibbs. and anybody that knows Tibbs, or it's consistent. And let's get, yes, this is Tibbs. And the running narrative about Tibbs, who, as much as I praise him, like, I don't know if I could have played for him. He has a Bobby Hurley Sr. reputation about him. Yeah, he got that Bobby Hurley Sr. reputation about him. You know what I mean? That if you don't, you can't just, you got to love basketball playing for Tibbs. You can't just like that. You got to love basketball playing for that man. Love it. Okay? But he been doing this, for decades. It's no slight. This Joe Mazzulla ain't like that. He ain't like Tibbs. He's not like Rick Carlisle. He's not. He's new to this. Okay? And that those, years and years and years and years, that matters. And we're seeing it in both the divisional rounds. Kenny Atkinson's a tremendous coach, but if you ever thought to sleep on Rick Carlisle, he been doing it since the Celtics in the 80s. There's a the Celtics are at a strategic disadvantage. And I said, after the debacle in 2023, Brad Stevens brought in Sam Cassell. He brought in Charles Lee. Charles Lee coming from the Bud Popovich tradition. He brought in Emile Jefferson. Excuse me. Out of Duke. And the X Factor brought in Jeff Van Gundy when ESPN. See what I'm saying? ESPN made that stupid decision to get rid of Jeff Van Gundy, which they shouldn't have done. And what did Brad? Immediately he swooped in and brought Brad. He brought him in. We need this guy. We got to get him. Go ahead and watch the two Bills. ESPN 30 for 30 gold. Talk about the Patriots team that broke through to the Super Bowl. Parcells like second year. Right? Bill Belichick left Cleveland. Parcells went to. We need him. We got to go over budget. He's an indispensable man. Indispensable man. You understand what I'm saying? Right? And the Patriots went to the Super Bowl that year. Right? Because they had an elite brain trust. Okay? So, you know what I mean? That's, I know things happen. You got, ownership stuff. But when you lost Jeff Van Gundy and when you lost Charles Lee, doggone it, bring in Stan Van Gundy. Bring in Frank. You got to bring in somebody. Yeah, bring in somebody. You know what I mean? The brain trust for the Celtics. Now, I mean, let me just conclude with saying that you can go from the standpoint of saying, you do have a couple, the coach in Denver, but we'll see. We'll see how that, we'll see how that shakes out. Denver get rid of Hall of Fame coach. And I don't know how they're gonna do, and they could need, missing Mike Malone right now. Missing him. So, it's a standpoint of, you know what I mean? Just I gotta put the we're losing some power, so let me just put the real quick. Okay, back, folks. Well, change one thing, change another thing. And we're going from there. Let me just see if anybody has anything. Folks are good. A little bit of a delay. Okay. So discuss this. Tatum, let's get back healthy. Number one thing. What do we got here? Minnesota up 3, 8 minutes to go. In the second quarter. Good matchup. No Chef Curry. That's a tough hit. Extreme advantage for the T-Wolves. Let's discuss the NBA draft. Then we'll do some slice of life stuff. Appreciate everybody that's rocking with us. Pseudo emergency episode tonight. Huge win for the Knicks. Huge development with the NBA draft. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, folks. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Yes, indeed.
The second pick will be made by the San Antonio Spurs, and that means that the number one pick in the 2025 NBA draft goes to the Dallas Mavericks.
Rolando Blackman, all smiles, 4-time All-Star, celebrating. The Dallas Mavericks had a 1.8% chance to win the number one pick overall in next month's draft. What a wild ride for you, huh? What was going through your mind as you were experiencing this and seeing the draft lottery take place?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible experience to be here, to have this opportunity. I mean, this is what I dreamed of since I was a little kid. So just to be here, it's an incredible experience and a great opportunity.
Yeah, you're working out for the draft now. What are you working on in order to get better so when you step onto the floor as an NBA player, you're at your best?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's always about just getting better all around. It's not one specific thing that I'm looking at. It's just a collective group of things and just trying to get all around better every single day.
The Dallas Mavericks made it known that they look for two-way players. Guys defend. That's what bring home championships, and that's why they traded Luka Doncic. You are a two-way player playing alongside Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. What you looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, this entire experience for me has been amazing. So going forward, just going to look forward to that, like you said, being a two-way player. That's something that I've done since I was a little kid, so I'm just going to try and keep doing that to the best of my ability.
Cooper.
Okay, so Cooper there at the draft. Jay Billis, the Duke contingent. Let's come back. We got to come back to see this in real time.
The second pick will be made by the San Antonio Spurs, and that means that the number one pick in the 2025 NBA draft goes to the Dallas Mavericks.
Rolando Blackman, all smiles, 4-time All-Star, celebrating. The Dallas Mavericks had a 1.8% chance to win the number one pick overall in next month's draft. What a wild ride for you, huh? What was going through your mind?
Okay, folks. So, before we get into the outlandishness of the Dallas Mavericks being gifted Cooper Flag after jettisoning Luka Doncic for no good reason, let's say, the NBA, how do you want to say this? Could have got I would have had no problem with Cooper Flag going to Philadelphia. I've been on that. Been saying Philly. Okay, for the longest. So I don't know if the league needed to go nuclear, and I'm using the words that I'm using here because this is just nutty. The Dallas Mavericks, after completing a trade that can go down as the worst in NBA history, now with 1.8% chance. And I think the last time a team with those odds got the number one pick, you have to go all the way back to like Derrick Rose when the Bulls got the number one pick. They had, a very slim margin and landed Derrick Rose. But, I just want to say that Cooper Flagg to the Sixers, that's also a win-win. Okay, organization that is in transition in the Northeast. Cooper's obviously from Maine. Right, so keep him in the, he's not going to the Celtics. Okay, so keep him in the general area, the Northeast. It's Embiid's time with Philly is done. He's got to go. You pair Cooper Flagg with Maxey. Nick Nurse knows his business. I don't care what anybody says. Daryl Morey knows his business. Had ups and downs, but these are two championship level coaches and executives. So for me, the whole thing was keeping Cooper away from Charlotte, dumpster fire, Washington, dumpster fire, New Orleans, Utah. Okay, these teams that it's not just that you lose, it's how you lose. I have no idea why the Utah Jazz are as bad as they are 3 or 4 years into, Will Hardy's been there 2-3 years. Danny Ainge has been there 2, 3, 4 years. He's moved, he's got all this draft capital, so on, you can have draft capital and make trades and also be a competitive team. There's no reason why Utah is not competitive. They're just absolutely awful. You look at the Pelicans, terrible. And now they're getting rid of assets. And the only thing about Cooper in Toronto, I would want him to go to Toronto just because I believe in Masai Ujiri. But Toronto has like 18 small forwards. They got Ingram, they got Scotty Barnes, they got RJ Barrett. They got Grady Dick. Toronto and Masai, he has all these like 6'8" versatile players. They're just a bunch of duplicates. And frankly, I've been surprised that they were as bad as, Toronto usually is, Toronto's kind of like a Miami Heat team that doesn't believe in tanking. So to make it clear, the NBA, in my view, just went absolutely nuclear with this, not so subtle coincidence. The Dallas Mavericks get the number one overall pick, kind of restoring hope to a fan base that's been rightfully enraged. And an organization that, so, I'm not understanding the charity here, folks. As we come down to the fourth quarter of this episode, I'm not really understanding the charity, meaning you have an ownership group that does, or oversees possibly the worst trade in NBA history for no good reason. And again, it's not that they trade. The issue is not that they traded Luka Doncic, folks. Let me just go around seeing how everybody else is doing on this Monday. I see a couple people on Facebook. I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Jump in the comments if you have anything. Like, comment, subscribe, all the rest of that stuff. Let me know. Me Casa, Sue Casa, let me know. All right? The whole Luka Doncic thing. It's not that you traded Luka. I got no problem. If you trade Luka and you get Anthony Edwards. If you trade Luka and you get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. If you trade Luka and you get Giannis. If you trade, you know what I mean? Another supernova. It's not saying that you can't trade Luka. But Anthony Davis at 30 with injuries, who's on the downside of his career. People say, oh, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis you got the best version of Anthony Davis that you had in a couple years, which is crazy. But he's still Anthony Davis, who's been injured his entire career. He's going to continue to be injured his entire career, and is certainly a 1B. He's not a 1A. He's never been a 1A. He's not going to be a 1A. Luka is an alpha, been an alpha, going to be an alpha. And all you want to talk about in terms of him not being, you don't have, you know what I mean? It's like in boxing. You don't have to be a physical specimen to be a championship boxer. You have to be, Tyson Fury was not this physical specimen. He was a big, strong, skilled dude. And he whooped Wilder a couple times, who was this Adonis physical specimen. Okay, it's boxing. There's a science behind it. So as much as people talk about Luka, which drives me crazy, he's not supposed to be a good defender. He's an offensive supernova. He's never been a good defender. You know who's a good defender, a two-way player? Anthony Edwards. Who won that series last year between Dallas and Minnesota? The Dallas Mavericks did. Minnesota, for all their two-way players and elite athletes and yada, 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 they could not handle the scheme and the strategy and the efficiency under the capable leadership of Jason Kidd of the Dallas Mavericks. They said, we got two offensive just dynamos in Kyrie and Luka, and we're just going to unleash them on you every single possession. You'll have no breaks. Either you're going to get the smoke from Kyrie or you're going to get the smoke from Luka. We're spreading it out, 5 out, as soon as, because Shannon Sharp, you can't beat man coverage, and both Kyrie and Luka, man coverage is so disrespectful, it's just automatically beaten. Just check. Single coverage, beaten. You don't even have beaten. Done. And Dallas spreads you out, 5 out, so everybody's on an island. And so as soon as they crack the paint and start the blender, they're just going to skip it and to either get a layup or a wide open 3. That's Dallas system, perfected. Jason Kidd. You want to talk about Brunson and when Luka was hurt and how Brunson balled and got the Jazz up and out of the playoffs, playing that same system, putting people on islands and cooking them, filleting them. So all these false narratives around Luka, that make no sense. Trying to move the goalpost that the people in Dallas weren't going for, that didn't look right to start with and haven't looked right since. Trying to put a square into a square into a circular, whatever. It's 2 apples and oranges. Luka is who he is. He's not a two-way, hustle defensive. Yeah, you know what I mean? None of that stuff. But he's so skilled offensively. So skilled. Okay, that you build around that. And he's not skilled in the old school Allen Iverson ISO volume shooting. No, he can play quarterback, he can play tight end, he can play wide receiver. He can do all of those things. Because again, you talk about Luka that he's big and he's husky, he takes people down to the block, which LeBron James now, later in his career, all-time leading scorer, is using his man body and just bodying people to get easy buckets. Folks have been asking for LeBron to do that since he was a young bull in Cleveland. Take these guys, stop staying in the 1-4 set and take somebody to the block. You're just bigger and stronger, and do that. By the way, when Miami was down 3-2 to Boston and won Game 6 in Boston, and LeBron went crazy, what did LeBron do? Yeah. He went down and he scored in different ways. He used his physicality. Luka has been doing that. You look at, he's gotten bigger, but as Luka has gotten bigger, he's gotten smarter and more efficiently. So yeah, he's not quicker than anybody, but he'll just go to the short corner. He'll go to the block. He'll post guys up. He'll get to the free throw line, and he'll score just as easily that way. So Cooper Flag going to Dallas, I don't trust it. The NBA is not just going to give a franchise that had a golden ticket and threw it away in the trash another golden ticket, and I'm just going to be like, oh, everything is good. Now, what's good is that the fan base can now be encouraged and can come back and the animus and the scorn can somewhat be abated, because now you have but that's but you still have the same ownership group that did that crazy thing that they did. So are you going to learn I don't know. There's no way. I don't care what your background is. I don't care if they're you had to have known, if you know anything about basketball. You're not going to convince me that people that are intelligent enough to make billions and billions of dollars and have all the savvy and the private jets and you got 15 people on your staff and all these different analysts, as a part of your organization, and yet you don't know that trading Luka Doncic is not just going to be an absolute disaster, PR-wise, personnel-wise, everything-wise. You didn't know that with all of this brain power that you got, first of all, individually, and then at your disposal? Nonsense. No. This was personal. This was this was antagonistic. This was about wanting to do things, coming in and having this vision and building a casino, which is crazy in and of itself, that a casino is attached to a stadium. You want to talk about, does anybody remember the Black Sox? Do we need to watch Ken Burns baseball? I understand this is where it's going, but to have the two like in the same building is just nuts. Not even pretending that the two are not, joined at the hip, just join them at the hip. I mean, like you shoot, but like it's just, like if you go to Phoenix, the arena is Talking Stick, and then you go down the road and there's Talking Stick Casino right in Phoenix, and so, but it's not like the arena is the casino. That's wild. You can still make as much money as a gaming, you can still make your gaming money, but just have the two places in two different locations and everybody's good. Why do they have to be in the same location? Or if not, you're going to throw a temper tantrum and do crazy things. So, again, I'm confident. My confidence in Cooper Flag going to Dallas and it working is that Jason Kidd is there. And Jason Kidd's an elite coach. And he got the best out of Luka. Never mind that. He got the best out of Kyrie Irving. The best that we've seen of Kyrie Irving since he left St. Patrick's in New Jersey. And that's Jason Kidd's doing. You hadn't seen that. It's been almost 2 decades since we saw this Kyrie. This positive team first Kyrie. Haven't seen him, and you didn't really get him at Duke because he was only at Duke for like 8 games. Every other Kyrie Irving has been me first or I torch it. So Jason Kidd is the confidence that I have that this can work. But if ownership does not get the heck out of the way and learn from the debacle and leave Nico Harrison alone and just let him do what he needs to do. Because again, in conclusion on this, got to talk about the Spurs getting this 2 pick, which is wild. That possibly being a window to bring Giannis to San Antonio, wild. In conclusion on the Cooper Flag to Dallas situation, that Jason Kidd, right, mold him, and just now the other thing, it's going to be because now Kyrie has to make an adjustment. AD has to make an adjustment. The thing with it is, that's going to be a challenge, frankly. I'm just going to, it's a challenge, is that Kyrie, Luka, they're like age-wise, they're in close proximity. Luka's younger, but they're around the same age, so they're, they're conversing, but Cooper, like, what is he, 19? If that. Kyrie, AD, pushing 30. Excuse me. So it's a different, you're going to have to convince Kyrie again to have a different role, on this, in this situation. They're not going to be a championship team. It's going to take time, which lends itself, you got, so you got, they're just not, now it can work. Jason Kidd can make it work. Again, I'm confident in Kidd. But a lot of times what you see is you want the players to kind of be closer generationally, right? That's why Castle is there, him and Wemby, the young guys. Fox is about the same, a little bit older, but they're all young-ish. Giannis is older, right? So if I'm San Antonio, they might, obviously you want to get in that Giannis sweepstakes. I think, in terms of Giannis, San Antonio now is a big up there. Don't sleep on Golden State. And the reason Golden State makes more sense is, Steph, Giannis and Steph are closer. Even though Steph's like 37, 30, you know what I mean? Giannis is, Giannis goes to San Antonio. He's like a decade older, or like 8-9 years older than Wemby. But Giannis, seems to be cool, you know what I mean? But, you know what I mean? You get Giannis goes to Miami, you partner him with Bam. Again, they're closer in. They're around their windows. But again, back to San Antonio, where it wouldn't really make a difference because De'Aaron is like Wemby's already there. He's an all-star. De'Aaron's an all-star. Castle's an emerging all-star, right? So even though Giannis would be the senior statesman, it's different than Dallas, whereas it's going to take Cooper 2-3 years to hit his stride. Will there be, does Kyrie and aid, so they're going to have to be the mentors, the grand old men in that situation. So again, it's bananas. Coop to Dallas is wild. And Coop to the 76ers could have been just as effective and a lot less wild. Like the Sixers, they just lost this year because they had injuries and they were just injured. Dallas lost because they tanked. They scuttled their own team. So I would, Cooper to the 76ers could have worked. That would have been my best, situation for him. Toronto, not a, just their team needs a lot. And they got a lot of pieces that got to be just moved. And Cooper does play, but Scotty Barnes and Cooper could play together. I think that those two could play together. Scotty Barnes can be a point forward, but they just got to get rid of some of these small forwards in Toronto. They just got too much of the same thing, like Grady Dick or RJ or Brandon Ingram. Most certainly, like some of those guys got to go. Butcher, they got a bunch of just comparable players. It's like Masai Ujiri wants everybody on his team to be 6'8" ball handler. So that's but NBA decided to go doggone nuclear. It is what it is. I'm not opposed to it, but at the same time, I'm not, you're not gonna fool me. I'm not buying it just yet. I'm not buying it just yet. I need it's gonna take time for me to get on board. Okay. Speaking of which, let's we're gonna start on a little bit more of a serious note, but we were just talking. As we go to our slice of life to conclude this episode, this emergency episode, you know what I mean? It's a Monday, so we got to get it, you know what I mean? And the sinuses are better. Fortunately, the sinuses have been better. So I'm fortunate for that. Appreciate the folks that's rocking with us. So 1 and 4th. Going to finish as we do with some slice of life stuff. And we were just talking about Kyrie, and this is something, you don't know what people go through, folks. You don't know what people go through. And so just Kyrie Irving, we just had Mother's Day. So just sharing his story.
I never got to hug my mom after a 40-point game. I never got to hug my mom getting my first car. I never had my mom teach me how to drive. I never had my mom go to the DMV to go get my driver's license with me. My mom never signed a parent, teacher, guardian paper for me to go on a trip. My mom never took me to AU practice. My mom never took me to have my first drink. My mom never took me to smoke for the first time. My mom never took me to places where I needed the new experience. My mom never told me I was on punishment. And all those things that I didn't have only made me more prepared to be a light for the world, because I am a constant reminder that you need to appreciate the life you do have, and you need to appreciate the things that you do have in your life, because there are plenty of us that would want to have so much, but we cannot. I never got to hug my mom after a 40-point game. I never got to hug my mom getting my first car. I never had my mom teach me how to drive. I never had my mom go to the DMV to go get my driver's license with me. My mom never signed a parent, teacher, guardian paper for me to go on a trip. My mom never took me to AAU practice. My mom never took me to have my first drink. My mom never took me to smoke for the first time. My mom never took me to places where I needed the new experience. My mom never told me I was on punishment. And all those things that I didn't have only made me more prepared to be a light for the world, because I am a constant reminder that you need to appreciate the life you do have, and you need to appreciate the things that you do have in your life, because there are plenty of us that would want to have so much, but we cannot.
Right? So, again, somebody, you don't know what people go through. You don't know, right, the things that's in people's backgrounds that are affecting them. Okay, and I've been on the basketball side, critical of Kyrie. I've been, in terms of, as a player, but the person, and, people talk about, they share when they share, but if you follow basketball, he grew up in Australia. His dad was a professional basketball player, and he lost his mom at a younger age, so you knew that, just if number one player in the country, so you know who this guy is, but you kind of know that he has those things in his background. And one of the things, Kyrie's had a number of different takes, and, but he always, one of the things that he said that's, is like, don't dehumanize me. Just because I'm a millionaire, now, sometimes he could be more considerate of others, but don't dehumanize me. It's one of the things that he says he's right. He's right. And so shout out to, his share here and his advocacy for mental health. And he's spot on with this. He is spot on. Okay, so let's see. A couple. Let's go here. We'll do two more on the slice of life side. And I might just be able, might be able to just, and then I think that's better. I don't have to stop sharing and then reshare. I can just 1, 2, and we're good to go. Hard to imagine.
Both of these are small schools. Coop, at least Crossroads has been making some big headlines, most of those surrounding their star point guard, Baron Davis.
Baron Davis shakes and bakes on the foul line and takes it all the way to the left. Davis for a three. Got it.
Best point guard
Davis
in high school basketball.
Explosive.
Davis stops, pops from NBA range, switch.
He's supposed to be the best point guard in the country,
And he's definitely good.
He's definitely
You can't take that away from him. But one man can't be the team.
The Crossroads basketball team's unexpected success had taken the team this far, but a win against Simon Gratz High School would put Crossroads basketball on the map for good. This was unarguably Barron's most difficult and meaningful game of his career thus far. Was Crossroads to take home the victory? Only time would tell.
4 days in, and the tournament focus shifted from the post to the point. Chris Verge, the top-rated center of the country, lost early, giving way to a battle of the guards in the final. Crossroads high Baron Davis versus Simon Gratz, Marvin O'Connor, and Jarrett Kerr.
I'm just going out to play to win. I'm pretty sure these guys are doing the same. They're very good. They play good together. They're Division I players. And so what I'm going to try and do is just control my team, try and make us win.
From the start of the championship game, it became evident that Simon Gratz High School, led by two trash-talking seniors, wasn't going to go down easy.
Passes away to Cash Warren, and now to Baron Davis, NBA three, bingo! And a beautiful drive, baseline right by Marvin O'Connor. He kisses it off the glass. Here's his double team by Baron Davis and Anderson. Away it goes to McKee, now to Carroll, and he scores the basket. Davis for a three, got it. And it's a one-point ball game with 40 seconds to play. Baron Davis on the left wing, drops it into the foul lane, puts up the one.
We were up one with a couple seconds left, and one of their lead point guards, drove to the basket.
Points. She finds Marvin O'Connor with 9 seconds. O'Connor
I got
puts
a
the score.
steal at the end of the game. And I remember I just got the steal, and Barron came running in. He was like, give me the ball. I just gave him the ball and just threw it down court, so the time would run out.
These rivalry high school games, crazy.
The 1996 Knicks Prom Classic Championship.
Both of these are small schools. Coop, at least Crossroads, been making some big headlines, most of those surrounding their star point guard, Baron Davis.
Baron Davis shakes and bakes on the foul line and takes it all the way to the right. Davis for a three.
Baron Davis. Go ahead and check out Baron Davis's UCLA highlights before and after the ACL injury. It's just amazing. Okay. See where we're gonna finish here. Did Snoop? We did. Okay. I know where we're going to finish. Know where we're going to finish this episode, dating myself here. Speaking of Baron Davis, we're going to go a little bit after Baron Davis. Some of you would remember, especially if you're from New York, you remember Lenny Cook, who was supposed to be, it was LeBron and Lenny Cook in the day as the elite.
I was like, it's over. Like, you know what I mean? I had to learn how to walk all over again and everything, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, because they wanted to amputate my leg. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't for Master P, they probably was going to amputate my leg.
What did Master P do?
Master P helped pay for the surgery that I needed.
Okay.
Because the insurance wouldn't cover the full surgery.
And Master P didn't know you, he just know you from being the best player.
Master P knew me at the time we played together back in the day.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So he was part of that program.
Everybody should hear this Lenny Cook story. I don't care whether you're middle school, high school, college. Lenny Cook was a guy that had it all at one time. I remember back in the days, he was going to go #1 before LeBron James. Lenny Cook got caught up into the street life, into everybody wanting to be on his side, everybody giving him things. This Lenny Cook story is so real, so relatable, because he a guy that had it all, lost it, never got there. He got a second chance in life. I feel like God really has blessed this man to be able to tell his story.
Car accident, I was like, it's over. Like, you know what I mean? I had to learn how to walk all over again and everything, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, because they wanted to amputate my leg. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't for Master P, they probably was going to amputate my leg.
What did Master P do?
Master P helped pay for the surgery that I needed.
Okay.
Because the insurance wouldn't cover the full surgery.
And Master P didn't know you, he just know you from being the best player.
Master P knew me at the time we played together back in the day.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So he was part of that program.
Everybody should hear this Lenny Cook story. I don't care whether you're middle school, high school, college. Lenny Cook was a guy that had it all at one time. I remember back in the day, he was going to go #1 before LeBron James. Lenny Cook got caught up into the street life, into everybody wanting to be on his side, everybody giving him things. This Lenny Cook story is so real, so relatable, because he a guy that had it all, lost it, never got there. He got a second chance in life. I feel like God really has blessed this man to be able to tell his story. Remember back in the days, he was going to go
Again, dating myself, but you know, shout out to ESPN, shout out to the greatest that never was, the legend of Marcus Dupree. Lenny Cook a little bit different because his was just in high school. You know, this was back. Lenny Cook was in the days when the guys would jump from high school to the NBA, and go get it now, and didn't want to go to college, and different rules. What do they say? What I learned from Ken Burns: good fortune is as light as a feather, and few men can carry it. Ken Burns, Ernest Hemingway documentary. You know what I mean? You got to be careful what you wish for, because you might get it, right? And especially the athletes, and how we put them on a pedestal, and we dehumanize them in many ways. We forget, that they're human beings, and they have one specific competency that's tremendous, but they're human beings. This is true a lot at the youth level. I'm guilty of it just as much as the next person. The standout athletes at the youth level, and you see they're going to do this, and they're going to do that, and they're going to do this is an 11-year-old. Let's back up. This is a 13-year-old. This is a 15-year-old. This is a 17-year-old. Let's back up. Now they might have the man bodies, but what are we doing here? What have I done? I've done this. I've been guilty of this more. It's crazy. And obviously there's a lot that they have access. You know what I mean? But you look back, you get older. What did you know at 15 versus 25, 35 on down the line? Right? They need help. They need guidance. They need support, just like anybody else. Okay. All right. And some, like, we see the overwhelming promise, and then it doesn't work out, and we're like, what happened? Well, a lot of times what happened when adults weren't adults, and it doesn't change, just because you got, you still got to do the same things. You got to still have the same money. Don't grow on trees, right? People talk about it. Had the clip of Fat Joe talking about how 1 month, $600,000 for private jets, which you can do if your last name is Bezos. Everybody's last name ain't Bezos or Musk or Zuckerberg. Again, Chris Rock, there's a difference between rich and wealthy. There's a big difference. That's why a lot of rich people end up broke, and a lot of wealthy people stay wealthy. All right. So, Monday, glad we got this in. Got to do other things. I'm glad the Passion Project was able to, go down, put wind in my sails. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Got to do the X's and O's and take care of the paperwork, but that's what it is. That's how we have to live. Okay, folks. So thank you for tuning in to SandCity Sports. I'm your host, the Cape Cod Kid, artist formerly known as Andre King. You know what I'm saying? And we will see you again the next time. Peace. Hey.